Welcome back, y'all. This is Brandy here with another episode of Millennial Generational Curse Breakers, or for short, MGCB. We're gonna go with MGCB because that is a tongue twister, but I just felt the name was so important because that's what we're talking about, y'all. How many of you feel like you have grew up a certain way and you just want to do it different? No shade, no tea. We love what our parents and elders have done for us, but we can all probably agree there are some things where we could change if we were to start our own family or have a marriage or just in relationships, different things that come in everyday life. So I already talked a little bit in my introduction video about why I started this, but let's jump into it. Like, what makes you a generational curse breaker? Is it a title that you give yourself? Does somebody tell you that you're it? How do you feel like you've done it? My answer to my own question is, I knew probably when I got in my first serious relationship where I knew that I wanted to marry who is now my husband. I knew that things that I was taught, how to maneuver in relationships, how to present as a woman, most things were things that I learned from my family. But I'm not going to sit here and say that everything I learned was everything that I used and that got me good results. Like, for example, you might have grew up in a house where your relationships were kind of toxic. I come from a family where my parents are divorced. So when you see that and you see it kind of unravel, you get older and you're like, either I don't want to get married or I'm going to do something different. And I was heavy on the I'm not going to get married because I just felt like that wasn't going to be happiness for me. I watched my parents kind of outgrow each other and just probably communicate in the least effective way when there were children involved. And I just knew that that's not something I wanted to do. So I told myself as a young, 20-something, I'm not getting married. I'm going to be out here. I'm going to date. We could probably be partners, but I'm never about to take your last name. Which is crazy because the people who know me know I love my husband down. Like, marriage has been, it's only been a short time, but it is like, wow. These are the days that I literally I prayed for and wondering if it would be for me. And then God said, you know what? Here you go, girl. So, it's definitely it's crazy when you sit and think about stuff that was just your normal day to day as a kid, how it affects you as an adult. I would never forget the first, the first time, me and my husband were dating at that time, and I went over to his apartment. And I was just like, what we doing? What is this? And he was like, we hanging out. Like, I know that you're gonna be my wife. Like, I already know that, but we're gonna get there. See when we get there, y'all. First of all, you don't hear too many people saying that and meaning it and putting action behind it. That man told me, I already knew I was gonna marry you, but it was inside I was like, dang, do I run? Cause I don't think I want to do that. It was really mental. I'm like, what? Oh, so we headed there. It was oh. And I always was up front with him. I'm a girl who I'm the girl who Drake was singing about when he was she got daddy issues. I ask God every day. He delivered me from issues with just being a girl who wanted to be loved in a certain way by her father. Because to be honest, I could have been on the pole. But to be honest, I could have been on the pole searching for a new daddy. You know what I'm saying? But I really never succumbed to what was going on inside. Like, I just kept pushing. And even though it sounded like it's easy to do, it was not. Because when you're out in the streets and you're dating and you're interacting and you're like, dang, like, you see people with their fathers as their best friend, their relationships, and you just like, like, don't get me wrong, I love my dad, but it wasn't tea. Like, it just wasn't what you would imagine. But all of these things were happening to me. And that leads me back to the conversation. That told me that if I was gonna step out in the world and date and eventually become somebody's wife and become somebody's mother, I wanted something different so that my daughter or son wouldn't be sitting on the couch 20, 30 years from now talking about, I don't know if I want to get married to you because I think that marriage is taboo. I think that marriage is toxic. I think marriage hurts people. You know, so it's like, what makes you a millennial generational curse breaker, you make yourself that. You commit and you say, it stops here. It won't be mine. It won't be my child. It won't be my relationship. It won't be my friendships. It won't be the way in how I talk to people or just what I even give off to people. Have you ever heard of somebody who just like, they've been like known to be mean or just like not welcoming in your family, and they just be like, you know, that's Uncle Leroy. You know, Uncle Leroy always been like that. And I have a hard time with believing that Uncle Leroy was mean and surly all his life. Like, what happened to me, Uncle Leroy? What he never smiled. He never like had joy. Like, that's, we live in God's world. You're meant to live life abundantly. There is no way that he created you and died upon the cross for you to sit here and be like literally mean mugging every single person. Your interactions are negative. You're mean. Like, Uncle Leroy is hurt. Uncle Leroy is hurt. And that might be somebody in your family and you can pinpoint him in your head and you be like, dang, like, It's like, who hurt you? You're kind of broken, you know? And I'm not gonna say hate, but I strongly am dissatisfied with the status quo that us as African Americans put on each other. So like, family, when you're family and you grow up and you hear certain things, for example, oh, we all big in this family. We all big boned. It's in our genes. Okay. Oh, all the women in my family have, you know, serious menstrual cycles where they bleed a lot. They're very discomforted. You know, that grows in, that's in our family. So, you know, or, you know, we've all had our babies at about 19. So that's kind of just what happens in our family. So we just have our babies and we get over it. We muscle through it. I did it. Your grandma did it. Your auntie did it. You'll be fine. So you're like 12. And so far, what you know that your family's lineage and heredity, Lord, all you know is that you're gonna be pregnant early. You probably gonna be obese or struggle with weight. And I hate the word obese, but medical term, whatever. And also, there's no hope. You told me my whole life, and basically to accept it. That's it. That's what goes on in the Jackson clan. That's what goes on in the Smith clan. It burns me, because how many of us grow up hearing that, and we don't have the inkling to be like, is there something different out there? Is this really my fate? Like, do I really have to just subscribe to it's what we do? And it comes up with, and those were just some, like, those were weak examples compared to some of the stuff that I've heard or been told. Please, if you have these instances that happen with you, leave me a comment. Tell me what's the wildest thing that you've heard somebody say is passed down and just, in your family bloodline. Oh, we all just, have anger issues. Anger issues, no one is born with that. No one is born with anger issues. You are born and you learn behaviors, actions, negative coping skills, and then you pass it on. So now you mad and angry. Now your kids is angry, and then they go to school and they take it out on everybody, and they don't know why is everybody saying that there's something wrong with me, because that's normal. Everybody in my house got an anger issue. That is the exact reason why breaking generational curses is so important. Because do you really want to be a part of that? Like, not it. Like, I don't want someone talking about my daughter in the future and saying, yeah, she just came in here and she just started throwing stuff. She started doing this, and she just was so angry. And she told me that her mom said anger issues run in the family. I would be embarrassed. That does not run in your family. If one person would have invested in positive coping skills, therapy, hello, let me tell you a secret. Therapy is for everyone. No, let me say it one more time. Therapy is for everyone. And also, therapy does not omit Jesus Christ. Because you're in therapy, it doesn't make you any less Christian or any less religious. If anything, therapy and Jesus Christ is like the holy combination that's gonna keep you in that spiritual realm to make you think clear and feel clear and actually operate with kindness and love. The people who think that therapy is taboo, I'm so sorry. This is probably not the channel for you. Myself being a ex-mental health professional and a current elementary paraprofessional in a school system, you're going to hear me talk about how I see generational curses showing up in these babies as early as age 5, 6. And you can tell, and if you talk to them, they will tell you that something happened or someone told them that this is what happens. This is what we should accept. So imagine how much less hopeful you would be for your future if somebody already told you what it's going to look like. And this is a loaded topic because, yeah, it's cool. You breaking generational curses. You want your life to be better. You want your children to be better. You want your marriage to be healthy. You yourself want to be healthy. mentally, physically, and spiritually. But what does that mean for you? What does that mean for you? Is that going to be so easy that you're going to be able to just do it and, no. I honestly think that it's the hardest role to take because everybody can go along with the status quo. Like, for example, in California and at a certain age, a certain time in history, gangs just popped up. Like, if you weren't in a gang, you didn't have no protection, you were in danger. Imagine how many people we know fell victim and joined the gang for protection, for status, for whatever. Hundreds, right? Thousands. But imagine those people who did not. They didn't do what everybody was doing. They didn't fall for it. Those people who stuck out, like a needle in a haystack. The scapegoats, the ones who really didn't subscribe to doing all of that. They wanted to do something different. They wanted to go to college. They wanted to move. They wanted to be better, right? Think about that, and then think about a curse breaker in your family. It might be you. If you have committed to breaking generational curses, you are the needle in the haystack. You are the scapegoat, the black sheep. You are the person who, when you come around, people are going to be a little bit uncomfortable. Because the way that you move and the way that you operate, they're going to be like, you think you better than me? I've heard that. You think you better than me? Or, you doing too much? Like, just because I choose not to do certain things or just accept certain things, I don't have to be extra. And we as people shouldn't even victimize each other like that. Like, I just can't be different and be accepted. I have to be the person that has to get ostracized. That's crazy. So when generational curse breakers began their journey, and I can tell you for me, on every end, it was challenges. Like, you're going to be challenged by every person older than you who begin to feel like the way that you talk and the way that you move is offensive to them because they did it. Why you think you shouldn't have to do it? I worked my way through college. I worked my way, getting kicked out at 18. And I did it. Why do you feel like you shouldn't do it? And there's things that it's a disconnect. And then you end up being the person to teach the elder ones who want to learn. Not everybody is open. But the people who are open, you as the younger person, and that could be your mom, it could be your dad, it could be your grandma, you end up being the person teaching them like, hey, this is how I like to operate. This is what I want to do with my life. This is how I want to exist in this world. And that is tiring. It's tiring. When I say, you at some point you might say, just forget it. You can go ahead. I'll do whatever y'all said. Because to go back and forth, I'll never forget. When I've had my daughter, she's 2 years old. So this is pretty recent. And I remember just making the decision that I was going to, breastfeed versus, try to do less formula. If I couldn't breastfeed, then that's the difference. But I actually wanted to try because I naturally believe that breast milk is made for babies. It is made from the mother to give to the baby. That is the best vitamins and literally gold. Like, they don't call it liquid gold for a reason. Breast milk has cured everything from an earache to pink eye to a rash. And if there's men watching this, I'm so sorry. You really have to cherish your girl or your wife for what they do when it's time to have a baby and how their body works. And I remember telling, people in my family, the older people, what I wanted to do. And it was so many people like, well, I only breastfed at the hospital and then that baby going on formula. I ain't doing all that. Oh, these new age mothers. Oh, you got a pump for this and you, What's that? I remember I used to turn heads because I invested in like the wearable breast pumps. So that I wouldn't have to sit, so I could be able to move about and they just do their thing. I remember going certain places and so many people made a scene. A scene? Because I'm pumping my baby milk? What is that? Oh, that's new. That's new age. Oh, that's new and fancy. I'm like, okay. Shh. Like you don't have to put me on a front street like that. Like, ma'am, we didn't do that. We just, okay. But guess what? If you go back to the beginning of time, before there was formula, you had your teat and animal milk, goat, whatever. You didn't have formula with all them extra, formula. They do a lot. Now, am I against formula? No. I actually end up having to do a little bit of both for my daughter because my milk was not producing at a normal rate because of the birth that I had. But you trying to tell me that I'm just not going to try to give my daughter the best, even if I have to sacrifice or like be a little bit uncomfortable? That's selfish. I'm just not even going to try it all. Mind you, it costs nothing to pull out your thing and let your baby try to get some milk. Go to the store and try to get this much formula. You tell me how to work out. So this was like, I had already been introduced to being a curse breaker just with single woman, black woman stuff. But once I had a daughter, it was just like crazy how much stuff people would say. And it's like, it's not always malicious, but it's also like, you don't understand. So it's crazy to think that, again, I'm shocked that I'm even sitting here and talking because I know for a fact that my best friends, my co-workers, and my other friends that I talk to about this stuff who all have their own experiences, I know it wasn't just us. I'm sure each and every one of you right now got a story, and I want to hear it. That's what I want at some point once we get our followers and people to come subscribe and like the channel. I want to see. Let's do a live, and you tell me about how you were out here breaking generational curses, standing on business, doing whatever you need to do for you and yours, and making sure that your life is going to be different and fruitful. Now, if anybody travels to this channel and take it as I just bashed my mama and my grandma and my dad, you didn't listen to the whole thing. You might have not understood where I was coming from. I appreciate more than words can even say how my mom raised me, how my dad was involved, how my grandparents and aunts stood in and helped to mold me into who I am. But I will not sit here and lie and say that my childhood was perfect and that I had every tool possible, at least, to move into going to college and working and finances and taxes and budgeting and relationships and communication and mental health and sexual health. Like, There's so many things that you have to teach a kid, and it's sometimes unfair. Because when our parents had us, they were probably our age or younger or older. So they didn't really always have the tools to show you that, you know? They didn't have the tools to show you everything and teach you everything. And they probably listened to your grandma, who, at some point in her life, she didn't have all the tools. But that's how curses are transferred from one to another. You know what I'm saying? So I think that conversations like these is good to have together and as a group of peers and people who are like-minded. But I think it's also a good way to outreach, like talk to people who may have not heard this term before, who may not even know like the conversation that's taking place. And then at some point, your children. Talk to the children. Now, you choose how much you want to say and when you want to say it. But I do think that children benefit from having a opening ear to certain things that they may experience later in life. It's like, I'm not gonna make you and keep you as a baby forever. I want you to, when you get to high school and it's time to fill out job applications, tuition, look for schools and colleges, I want you to have already had this conversation. Like, I don't want you to be like, for the first time, like, what? What am I supposed to do? What's so fast for? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like this is what we do as our, this is our enrichment as parents, as young adults, because we'll know we need to be pouring every day into ourselves with what we listen to, with what we subscribe to. If you pray, if you're on a spiritual journey, if you're getting closer to God, if you're taking care of your body, if you're exercising, if you're eating right, if you're meal prepping, pouring into yourself so that with knowledge and reading, you can pour into other people. You can pour into your kids. You can pour into your siblings. Because if you want to be if you are the generational curse breaker, you're going to have to reach down and bring some people with you. Your little brother, your little sister, you're going to have to bring them with you. So I do think that notoriously in the black community, now this might be not only the black community, but there might also be in the Hispanic community, we don't like talking about certain stuff. Like, you would never know something about your family member until they pass away. When they pass away, you get a whole awakening of like, wow. And usually it's traumatic stuff. Like, for example, I never knew the relationship that my grandmother had with my grandfather. I never really knew the extent. He passed away before I was born, so I never really even knew. I still don't know what he looks like. I'm 30 years old. One of my grandfathers, I do not know what he looks like. And if he was still alive, I would not know him from a can of paint. I know, duh, people have fathers and that's how they're born. I don't know what he looks like. I don't know what he did for a living. What did he like to do? What is his legacy? I just know that one of his kids is my parent. And it wasn't until my grandmother, who was 90 years old, she began to show signs of dementia. And, you know, with dementia, you kind of go in and out from like childhood, you're an adult and then you go back to a baby, or you might go back to past experiences and you're not really like recognizing that it's all blending together. So my grandmother has, when she met my husband, yeah, that was crazy. I laugh now because I made it through it. Thank you, God. The first time she met my husband, she was excited, of course. You marrying my granddaughter, treat her right, blah, blah, blah. She not only said treat her right, she basically warned him to not beat me. You heard me. She more than once warned him to not beat me, put his hands on me. And this made my husband feel super uncomfortable. My husband is a very gentle man. He is not someone who grew up hearing kind of like horror stories about his family members. His family is very different. But for my grandmother to legitly, every time she sees him, or she'll be like, don't put your hands on her, don't beat on her, it makes you be like, would you? So did that happen to you? Mind you, my grandmother, I've been with my grandmother a lot, and I've never heard so much talk of domestic violence. And domestic violence is something super, it's a hard subject. And anybody out there who is experiencing or have survived domestic violence, my thoughts and prayers are with you. You do not deserve that type of treatment. But you see, it took for my grandmother to not operate in a regular mind frame for her secrets or her life to come out. So it makes me feel, my grandfather beat you, and in this exchange you became fearful for your granddaughter to also be beat, and no one had a conversation about it. And I don't know if it's shame or guilt, but I would rather have a conversation about that, like an intentional conversation, so that I know what to look for, and like I know, okay, yeah, it's real out here, what to look for. And instead of like it happened on the news, or it happened in a Tubi or a Lifetime movie, and you like, oh, that's what domestic violence is. No, the best knowledge that you're gonna get is coming from your home, the people who love you, who gonna tell it to you raw. I would rather hear stuff from home before the TV. So when we talk about breaking curses, that's one of them. Information. Teach me. Like, you don't have to be stuck in silence. You don't have to be silenced with what you went through. Because how don't we know that could have helped? Somebody could have been helped by the information getting passed down. This is a grandparent. There were so many people after you, but we don't know what she learned from her mother. Was that something that her mother went through, and then she ended up going through it? Some stuff you'll just never find out because everybody is either, gone or too mentally incapable to even revisit all of that. So it's lost. And then everybody else is lost. So I think that's all I got today. Like, comment, subscribe. I want to hear your voice. Let me know. Are you a generational curse breaker? What's the main thing that you said, this is not gonna happen no more? If I have anything to do with it, comment down below. Is it abuse? Is it finances? Is it poverty? What is it? Tell me what you have committed your life to stopping with you. What is stopping with you? And what's some topics that you want to hear, that you want to talk about? I want to hear everybody's voice. And we can get some lives going, introduce ourselves, and make our own community. Like, I'm big on community, and like I said in my introduction video, we were not made to be out in the world free, just alone. No one is meant to be alone. Together we are stronger, together we are better, and that's how we're going to continue to break these curses. That's it, y'all. See y'all later.